They weren't myths. These laws were real, enforced, punished, and in some cases, deadly. From arresting the too intelligent to banning kisses and cheese, here are 10 insane rules that actually existed. How many of them could quietly come back? Number 1. Too smart? Too suspicious. Until the early 1970s, California Penal Code Section 647 authorized police to arrest anyone suspected of loitering with intent, and bizarrely, that included appearing suspiciously intelligent. Officers could target individuals they deemed too clever or analytical, particularly in low-income or racially mixed areas, under the pretense that they were plotting a crime. In practice, this vague statute allowed sweeping arrests of young Black and Latino men who were simply standing outside or talking with friends. LAPD internal documents from the 1960s revealed that being observant, carrying books, or even wearing glasses were listed as suspicious traits. The law was challenged and eventually invalidated after growing public criticism and civil rights lawsuits. Some arrested individuals reported being interrogated solely for quoting legal texts or reciting statistics. But here's the kicker: should being too smart have ever made you a criminal? Number 2. Legal euthanasia in Indiana? In January 1906, Indiana came within inches of legalizing state-sponsored euthanasia, becoming the first government to seriously propose it. Republican State Senator John Hurdy, a vocal eugenicist and public health official, introduced a bill that would have permitted doctors to end the lives of confirmed idiots and hopelessly insane with family consent. The bill passed the Indiana Senate with little opposition, reflecting a shocking level of public and medical support at the time. Its backers believed euthanasia was both compassionate and economical, saving the state money and cleansing society. Only after national newspapers condemned the bill as of license to kill did the Indiana House narrowly reject it. Had it passed, the law would have empowered physicians to carry out executions without judicial review. Question for you: how close did America come to normalizing state-approved mercy killing? Number 3. Women too emotional for lawmaking? In the 1890s, several U.S. state legislatures, including Ohio and New York, imposed official rules that barred women from participating in debates if they displayed emotional outbursts. These rules were based on pseudoscientific ideas of the time, claiming that women were biologically prone to hysteria and irrational behavior. In New York, Assembly Rule 47 prohibited female legislators from using dramatic inflection or excessive passion, a rule enforced by warnings, censure, or removal from the floor. Ironically, male lawmakers were frequently praised for passionate speeches, while women were punished for the same conduct. The rule in New York wasn't rescinded until 1908, though informal biases persisted for decades. One female legislator was threatened with expulsion for raising her voice in defense of women's suffrage. Can you imagine? Should emotion be banned, or was it just another excuse to silence women? Number 4. Death by cheese. In 1411, after 2 noblemen died from consuming spoiled Roquefort cheese, King Charles VI of France signed a royal edict declaring it a capital crime to sell foul cheese falsely presented as fresh. The law particularly targeted merchants in Paris and Toulouse, where cheese markets thrived. Violators could face execution by hanging, and in some towns, the punishment included public humiliation where both the merchant and the cheese were paraded and burned. Local bailiffs were instructed to inspect cheeses for mold and odor weekly, making it one of Europe's earliest documented food safety regulations. Though the harshest penalties faded by the mid-1500s, the law remained a symbol of France's obsession with culinary purity. One merchant reportedly tried to bribe officials with wine and sausages to avoid the gallows. Number 5. No ice cream on Sundays. Pittsburgh's blue laws banned the sale of ice cream on Sundays unless it was served with cake, a peculiar compromise meant to align with religious values. City officials ruled that ice cream alone was too decadent for the Sabbath, but paired with cake, it qualified as a meal. Police conducted surprise raids on parlors, and violators faced fines or even license suspensions. Some parlors started handing out free slices of cake with every Sunday order to avoid penalties, leading to an unexpected surge in cake sales. By the 1930s, public ridicule and shifting morals helped relax these puritanical restrictions, but for decades, Pittsburghians had to eat dessert by the book. Number 6. Forced sterilization for the feeble-minded. The Virginia Sterilization Act of 1924 allowed the state to forcibly sterilize individuals labeled unfit to procreate, especially those with mental illness, disabilities, or low IQs. The infamous Buck v. Bell case in 1927 cemented this policy nationally when Carrie Buck, a poor teenager institutionalized after being raped by her foster cousin, was sterilized against her will. Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes defended the ruling, declaring, "3 generations of imbeciles are enough." Between 1924 and the 1970s, over 8,000 Virginians were sterilized, and similar laws spread to 30 states. Incredibly, these programs were only fully repealed in the late 20th century, and some victims received state compensation only in the 2000s. The sterilizations were often performed without the patient's knowledge, disguised as routine procedures. Number 7. Ban on black hair products. In 1786, Governor Esteban Miró of Spanish Louisiana enacted the Tignon Law, requiring black and mixed-race women to cover their hair in public with a tignon, a head wrap. The law aimed to reduce their visibility and attractiveness, as white society feared these women's elaborate hairstyles and confident self-presentation threatened social order. Enslaved and free women alike were expected to comply, particularly those of means who wore jewelry and lace. But rather than shrink into invisibility, these women turned the tignon into a symbol of resistance, decorating them with vibrant colors, feathers, and gold pins. The law quietly faded after the Louisiana Purchase but is still remembered as a racist attempt to police beauty and identity. Ironically, portraits from the time show Creole women wearing tignons with even more flair and defiance than before the law. Number 8. You must dance. In 17th-century Puritan Massachusetts, dancing wasn't just entertainment, it was a legal obligation. Young unmarried men were expected to participate in courting dances by age 21 or be subject to questioning by community elders and even fines. The dances, often held in town halls or barns, were supervised to ensure proper behavior but were intended to facilitate marriage, a civic responsibility. Those who refused could be labeled antisocial or even accused of resisting God's plan for reproduction. This strange pressure to court by law highlights how the Puritans regulated every facet of personal life, even romance. Number 9. No kissing your wife on Sundays. Among the many puritanical laws enforced in colonial Connecticut was a ban on kissing one's wife in public on Sundays. Public displays of affection were seen as distractions from religious observance and were considered blasphemous on the Sabbath. Local records from the 1670s include citations for lewd greeting of wife with lips in churchyards and town squares. The punishment ranged from fines to being locked in the stocks for public shaming. While the law faded in the early 1800s, it reflected the extreme control Puritan leaders exerted over personal relationships and morality. Some towns even had Sabbath constables assigned to patrol for such moral violations. Number 10. Ban on ugly people in public. Chicago's 1881 ugly law criminalized the appearance of disabled, disfigured, or unsightly individuals in public spaces. Officially called an ordinance to prohibit the exposure of diseased or mutilated persons, it was designed to maintain the city's image and protect sensitive eyes. The law specifically targeted beggars, war veterans with amputations, and people with visible disabilities, many of whom had no other means of survival. One arrest record described a man as disgusting to behold and justified his incarceration based on complaints from shoppers. The law remained active in some form until 1974, a sobering reminder of how cities once punished the vulnerable in the name of aesthetics.